What brings you to the Outlands?
I did. We're friends.
Friends with royalty? Gracious! I underestimated you, my dear.
Kion's not just royalty. He's leader of the Lion Guard.
Leader of the Lion Guard? But the guard isn't here.
No, but I am.
The moment Kion and Ronnie became king and queen at the Tree of Life, a false victory was hiding beneath the surface. Like the deceptive calm before a devastating storm, this seemingly perfect ending concealed untold dangers. Many fans sensed something was missing, the villain defeat too easy, the conclusion too neat. If you've wondered what lurked beyond this facade of perfection, you're in the right place. I've spent months analyzing every episode of The Lion Guard, character arcs, subtle hints, and foreshadowing to uncover what Season 4 would have revealed, including the return of a hidden mastermind and a crisis forcing Vitani to save Kion himself. This is what really happened after Kion became king. The Tree of Life seems like the perfect paradise after Kion and Ronnie's coronation, with its lush landscapes and peaceful atmosphere. But when we look at how Makucha's army was defeated, something doesn't add up, because it was all too convenient, too simple. Because in the Lion King universe, villains never just disappear. They retreat, they regroup, they plan their revenge. So this sudden victory feels like the calm before a much bigger storm, because history has taught us that evil never truly vanishes, it just waits for the right moment to strike again. The Tree of Life is an ancient wellspring of power that predates even the oldest Pride Lands traditions, with energy flowing through every root and branch, making it a target throughout history for those who crave dominion over nature itself. Now, with Kion bringing the legendary Roar of the Elders to this sacred place, the tree has become more valuable than ever before, tempting to those lurking in distant shadows. Whoever controls both the tree and the Roar would possess the ability to reshape the natural order itself. Kion and Ronnie spend their days strengthening their bond, exploring their kingdom together, and learning from each other's experiences, creating what seems like the perfect royal partnership. Yet during quiet moments when the night sky blankets the kingdom, something moves beyond the borders, calculating and patient, with eyes that never blink and a mind that absorbs every detail of the royal couple's daily routines. This watcher has spent lifetimes studying the Roar of the Elders and knows secrets about this power that would make even Kion's fur stand on end. The Night Pride continues their nightly patrols with practiced efficiency, but as weeks pass without incident, their movements become predictable, their attention less sharp. This gradual relaxation of vigilance is precisely what the Watcher in the shadows has patiently waited for. The best time to strike is when your enemy believes there is nothing to fear. Strange occurrences begin to ripple across the kingdom. A zebra herd stampedes at midnight, though no predator was present. The ancient baobab at the western border weeps a red sap never before seen. A family of antelopes reports unusual rustling in the tall grass at night. A group of young monkeys goes missing for hours before returning unable to explain where they've been. A mongoose clan finds their burrows disturbed while they were away. These incidents are dismissed as ordinary woodland happenings, but they're careful tests probing the kingdom's response patterns. Kion sometimes feels an inexplicable chill along his spine during solitary walks, as if unseen eyes track his every movement, but he pushes these sensations aside, attributing them to lingering trauma from past battles. His desire to see only the good creates the perfect opportunity for something terrible to take root in his kingdom. The Hidden Observer directs a network of spies positioned throughout the Tree of Life's territories, collecting information about the Night Pride's patrol schedules, the location of emergency gathering points, and most crucially, the times when Kion is separated from his friends. This unseen adversary understands that Kion's true strength comes from the loyalty of those who stand beside him. Deep in the Pride Land's forbidden history lies a truth about Scar's descent into darkness. Before becoming a tyrant, there was another presence with burning eyes and velvet voice who understood precisely how to nurture the seeds of jealousy in Scar's heart, a mastermind orchestrating events across generations toward a moment of vengeance. During one afternoon, Ono notices something troubling along the western border. Unfamiliar tracks that appear and disappear, as if their creator moves between worlds. Before he can investigate further, a distress call from a trapped elephant pulls him away from what might have been the first true warning of the danger closing in. While Ono was distracted by that elephant calf in the sinkhole, a much darker truth was unfolding because those mysterious tracks were evidence of Kivuli, a name that means shadow in Swahili, and a being who has been manipulating events from darkness since before Mufasa even claimed the throne. What if I told you that everything we thought we knew about Scar was built on an elaborate deception? What if Scar was never truly the architect of his own villainy, but instead a carefully crafted weapon aimed at the heart of the Pride Lands by a master puppeteer who has waited generations for the perfect moment to strike again? Long before Scar was born, there existed a lion who believed the throne should have been his, but was denied because his bloodline didn't connect to the royal family. This rejection festered in his heart, creating a darkness that would eventually consume him. Unlike Scar, who acted on impulse, Kivuli's most dangerous quality was his patience, waiting decades, even generations to achieve his goals, making him infinitely more dangerous than any villain we've seen before. While others sought immediate power, Kivuli played a longer game spanning the entire history of the Lion King universe. Kivuli's obsession with the roar of the elders began when he briefly possessed this ancient power before something catastrophic happened, severing his connection to it. His fascination transformed into hatred. If he couldn't control the roar, he decided no one should. After being blown away by Scar's roar, his resentment deepened because he always wanted power and the roar had taken that chance from him. This personal defeat explains why his existence became devoted to understanding and ultimately destroying the very force that had rejected him. The true genius of Kivuli was psychological manipulation. He discovered he could enter the dreams of other lions, planting seeds of doubt, jealousy, and anger that would grow naturally within their subconscious. This is how he corrupted Scar, whispering into his dreams night after night, nurturing his natural jealousy toward Mufasa until it blossomed into murderous hatred. Kivuli himself remained hidden, letting Scar take the blame for actions that were never entirely his own, a revelation that cast Mufasa's death in an even more tragic light. Now he's using this same dream-walking ability to gather intelligence about the Tree of Life, infiltrating the dreams of its inhabitants. Kivuli's plan centers on the erasure of the roar's legacy. He sees Kion as the final piece in his grand design because Kion's arrival at the Tree of Life has inadvertently brought the roar back to the place containing ancient knowledge about how the power was first created and potentially how it can be permanently destroyed. Kivuli wants to break Kion to force him to surrender the secrets of both kingdoms because his plan is to trap Kion, take him far away, make him weak, and before finishing him off, they would force him to give up every secret of the Tree of Life and the Pride Lands. What makes Kivuli truly terrifying is his understanding that power comes from information. He's been methodically creating a team stronger than ever by gathering former enemies of the Lion Guard, particularly Makucha and his followers, now reunited under Kivuli's leadership with a strategic plan crafted by a mind that has studied the roar's weaknesses for generations. The attacks on the Tree of Life were carefully orchestrated tests designed by Kivuli, each revealing more about the Night Pride's defensive strategies. Information being meticulously cataloged for when Kivuli finally makes his move to isolate and capture Kion. In Kivuli's mind, Kion is the final holder of a power that has denied him greatness for too long. After meticulously studying the Night Pride's defenses, Kivuli discovered something that no other villain had ever realized about the Roar of the Elders. Its true weakness wasn't in the power itself, but in the lion who wielded it. The brilliance of Kivuli's trap lies not in trying to steal the roar directly, which has been attempted countless times before, but in forcing Kion to surrender it voluntarily. This psychological approach targets the heart rather than the ability, creating a permanent severing of the connection between the royal bloodline and this ancient power, something no other villain ever conceived. Distress calls suddenly echo from across the Tree of Life Kingdom, a pangolin family trapped under fallen rocks to the north, flamingos cornered by crocodiles to the east, and most urgently, tigers caught in a landslide to the west. Rani makes the difficult decision to split their forces. "We have no choice," she tells Kion reluctantly. "We can't leave any of them without help." Kion, driven by his protective instincts, heads west alone to aid the tigers while the rest of the Night Pride scatter to the other locations. The hero rushes into what will become his undoing. When Kion arrives at the supposed disaster site, confusion replaces his urgency. The area shows no signs of distress, no trapped tigers, no landslide. The realization comes too late. Makucha and his leopards emerge from the foliage, circling him with calculated precision. Kion widens his stance, preparing to unleash the roar. The familiar power begins building within him, the connection to the great kings of the past surging through his body, then vanishes completely. A cold emptiness replaces the warmth of the roar's power. The air around him stills. The connection that defined him since cubhood severs, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. As the sensation drains from his body, a dark figure steps from the shadows. Kivuli, holding a crushed purple plant, its dust lingering in the air. Kion just breathed. Fascinating how something so small can neutralize something so powerful, Kivuli remarks with cold satisfaction. Don't worry, it's only temporary. Just long enough for us to continue our conversation somewhere more private. The weakened Kion fights valiantly but is quickly overpowered. The leopards transport him to an elaborate cave system miles away, its walls embedded with blue-black stones that seem to absorb light itself. These stones completely block the roar's power, Kivuli explains as Kion regains consciousness. Even if the plant's effects wear off, these walls ensure your greatest weapon remains silenced. The king of the Tree of Life, trapped in the roots beneath it. Kivuli's threat extends beyond Kion's capture. Through a reflecting pool, Kion sees images of his allies throughout the kingdom, each unknowingly surrounded by Kivuli's forces. One signal from me and the Tree of Life falls. Your queen, your friends, everyone you've sworn to protect, their fate rests entirely on your cooperation. At the Tree of Life, Rani grows increasingly concerned by Kion's absence. The Night Pride's search finds nothing. No tracks, no scent. It's as if he vanished into air, Balio reports. Kivuli's followers have used specialized mud to mask their scent and pathways that leave no footprints, countering all tracking efforts. The danger escalates when Rani discovers damaged ancient markings in the tree's innermost chamber. Portions describing the roar's vulnerabilities have been studied then partially destroyed. This wasn't random vandalism, she realizes with horror. Someone was learning the roar's secrets and making sure no one else could. In the cave, Kivuli presents Kion with an impossible choice. Surrender the roar willingly, severing it from the royal bloodline forever, or watch everything he loves perish. The roar was never meant for lions, Kivuli hisses, his voice carrying centuries of bitterness. And after today, no lion will ever wield it again. While Kion remained trapped in Kivuli's cave, the Night Pride faced a terrifying reality. For the first time ever, their kingdom stood vulnerable without its most powerful defender. The Tree of Life had survived for generations through isolation and self-sufficiency. But what happens when the threat comes from someone who knows all your secrets and weaknesses? Sometimes the strongest thing a leader can do isn't to stand alone, but to know when to ask for help. Rani paced anxiously at the entrance of the Tree of Life, her claws digging into the earth with each step. Her breath came in shallow bursts as the weight of her royal duties pressed down upon her shoulders. The kingdom had always resolved its own problems, healing others but remaining proudly self-sufficient. Now, with Kion missing and danger lurking, Rani found her mind racing between duty and desperation. She paused, looking out at her vulnerable kingdom, her tail twitching with unspoken fear. We need to try again, Surak insisted as the Night Pride regrouped after their third failed search. He must be somewhere in the kingdom, but exhaustion had crept into his voice. They were outmatched. The tracks just disappear, Balio reported, frustration evident. It's like they knew exactly where our patrol routes are and how to avoid them. The Night Pride exchanged worried glances. Their enemy was methodical, patient, and had clearly been watching them for some time. As night fell, Rani stood alone, her silhouette small against the vast darkness. Her mind replayed Kion's stories of the Pride Lands, of Simba and the original Lion Guard overcoming impossible challenges through teamwork. She remembered how his eyes would light up describing his family and friends who had faced Scar, Zira, and countless threats. People who would do anything to help him. Rani's heart pounded as she made her decision. If they waited any longer, Kion and possibly the entire kingdom could be lost. "Oh no," she called suddenly, her voice steadier than she felt. The egret flew down immediately. "Is there a way we could send a message to the Pride Lands?" Quickly, her eyes conveyed the urgency her measured tone tried to hide. "Well," Ono considered, "Azad is the fastest bird in the Tree of Life." How soon could he reach Pride Rock? Rani pressed, her tail lashing behind her. With Fuli running alongside him for the first stretch to guide him, Ono calculated they could reach the Pride Lands in just a few days. "Then prepare them immediately," Rani commanded. "Every moment counts." She took a deep breath. For the first time in our history, the Tree of Life will ask for outside help. While Ono prepared the messengers, Rani descended into the deepest chambers of the tree, searching among ancient paintings. In a partially damaged section that Kivuli had attempted to destroy, she discovered a chilling image, a dark lion standing before the Tree of Life, reaching for the roar's symbol. "He was here before," she whispered, tracing the faded image. "Long ago." The fragments depicted a lion who had sought to steal the roar's power, banished but sworn to return for vengeance. This wasn't a new threat, it was the continuation of an ancient conflict. Outside, the Night Pride fortified their defenses, animals throughout the kingdom offering to help with patrols. But the approaching danger hung heavy in the air. This was about the future of both kingdoms. Days later, in the Pride Lands, Simba received Rani's urgent message. Without hesitation, he summoned Vitani and her lion guard. "The Tree of Life has requested our help," Simba announced. "This is most serious indeed." Vitani stepped forward determinedly. Since receiving the roar from Kion, she had trained relentlessly to master its power. "We'll go immediately," she declared. Kion would do the same for any of us. As Vitani's team prepared for their journey, Rafiki warned, "Be careful. If this enemy knows how to block Kion's roar, they may know how to block yours as well." As Vitani's lion guard arrived at the borders of the Tree of Life, a battle unlike any before was already unfolding in Kivuli's cave. The dark lion circled his captive, his eyes reflecting something more dangerous than mere hatred. His voice echoed against the light-absorbing stones as he revealed the true breadth of his ambition. "The roar is just the beginning, young king. When I extract its secrets from you, I'll destroy it and reshape both kingdoms into one empire, built on fear and absolute control, not the circle of life." Kion's body was weak from days without food, but his spirit remained unbroken. Kivuli deployed psychological warfare, conjuring visions that blurred dreams and reality. Kion saw the Tree of Life in flames, Rani wounded and calling his name. Through each hallucination, one certainty anchored him, his trust in Rani and his belief that help would come. "Your visions aren't real," Kion said, voice hoarse but determined. "I know my family. I know Rani. They won't stop fighting." In the silence that followed, Kion drew strength from memories of Rani's determined eyes, her unwavering leadership. These thoughts sustained him even as Kivuli's frustrated roar shook the cave walls. Miles away, history unfolded as Vitani's guard crossed into the isolated sanctuary. The first Pride Lands defenders ever welcomed to the Tree of Life. Two powerful groups faced each other amid charged uncertainty. "Thank you for coming," Rani said, royal composure momentarily betraying her worry. "We've searched everywhere without success." Vitani stepped forward. "Kion taught me something important. Two roars can sense each other, even when one is blocked." This revelation galvanized both teams. Rani shared everything about Kivuli, his manipulation abilities, gathered enemies, and the plants neutralizing the roar. Together they crafted a strategy combining Vitani's tracking with the Night Pride's territorial knowledge. The alliance formed rapidly. Balio and Kovu scouted the perimeter. Fuli and Nirmala combined tracking expertise. Bunga and Tifu developed complementary attack maneuvers. Vitani climbed a high ridge and summoned the roar as a call. The sound vibrated across the landscape, absorbed by a distant mountain range. "There," she pointed, "the other roar is being held." As they approached the cave system, Makucha's leopards and Kivuli's followers formed defensive lines. The natural formation had become a fortress with guards at every entrance. "We need to divide their attention," Rani announced. "The Night Pride and most of Vitani's guard will engage their forces here, while Vitani and I find another way in." The battle erupted instantly. Balio's night vision guided Kovu's powerful strikes. Fuli darted between enemies, creating openings for Surak's calculated attacks. Each defender utilized their unique strengths, creating the perfect diversion. Inside the dimly lit passages, Rani and Vitani moved silently past patrolling enemies. They found Kion thin but defiant, his eyes still burning with determination. "I knew you'd come," he whispered upon seeing Rani. Their reunion was interrupted when Kivuli emerged from shadows, purple dust ready in his paw. "Another roar bearer," He snarled at Vitani. How convenient. Vitani was prepared, having absorbed Rafiki's warnings and Ronnie's briefing. When Kivuli threw the crushed plants, she was already moving, circling away while positioning herself beside Kion. Now, Ronnie shouted, knocking away the nearest stones. Two roar bearers stood side by side, summoning their power simultaneously. The cave illuminated with blinding light as their combined roars created unprecedented force. The blocking stones shattered, and Kivuli with his followers were sent flying from the cave system, tumbling through the air before disappearing beyond the horizon. With Kivuli defeated, a new era dawns for both kingdoms, connected by alliance roars united in purpose. Peace requires vigilance, prompting Kion and Vitani to share their roar knowledge, creating a lineage of protection spanning two lands, something their ancestors never imagined. As Rani's belly grows, Kion watches in wonder. He prepares for fatherhood, blending Pride Land traditions with Tree of Life customs, creating something unique for their cub who will carry both legacies. Fuli and Azad have returned permanently, contemplating their own family. Their love story unfolds alongside new cubs, new challenges, and adventures waiting on the horizon.